So some of you wrote me about the problems at the end of chapter 1 and raised a question about the idea of making our propositional logic precise. And it helped me see that there's a clarification here that we ought to make. Now remember the examples that we used for vague or ambiguous sentences. For an ambiguous sentence, we use the example of Tom stands by the bank. And the problem there was that bank could mean financial institution to the side of the river. Our example of a vague sentence was Rochester is near Buffalo. And the difficulty with there is how close is near? That was our problem. But some of you asked me, what about a sentence like this? Fido is a mammal. Now we suppose Fido is some animal, but it could be a cat, a dog, a horse, a whale. There's so many different kinds of organisms that are mammals. And your question for me had been, is that a problem? And the answer is that is not a problem. But it does raise the question of, let's think more clearly about this idea of precision. There's a sense in which this isn't very specific, right? It doesn't tell us what kind of mammal. Instead, it's a general sentence. It makes a generality. It tells us this very broad thing about Fido. But that's not a problem, and you'll be able to see why if you think about the difficulty with these other sentences. The difficulty with the ambiguous sentence was, if I had meant financial institution and you thought side of the river, then maybe the sentence is true for me or false for you or vice versa, depending on where Tom actually is. So what bothered us is that it could have sort of two different truth values under these different interpretations, and we didn't know which interpretation applied. Similarly, what bothered us about this is the truth value was there's a sort of fuzzy area. Sure, if Rochester is 1,000,000 light years from Buffalo, it's not near it. And but what if it's 60 miles away? Is that near? Well, that depends, And if you were to say 60 miles is near, is 61 not near? It's vague. It's got a fuzzy border. And there's going to be some point at which we're not certain whether it's true or false. Remember our principle of bivalence. Every sentence has to be either true or false, never both, never neither. So the reason we don't like this kind of ambiguity is because it could be true and false sort of at the same time if you and I have different interpretations. The reason we don't like this kind of vagueness is because there's going to be conditions in which the truth value of the sentence is sort of uncertain, right? Fuzzy. But this never gets us in that kind of trouble. Yes, it's a very general statement, but there's just going to be a fact of the matter. If Fido's some organism, Fido is either a mammal or not. If Fido's a whale, Fido's a mammal. If Fido's a horse, Fido's a mammal. If Fido is a crocodile, Fido is not a mammal. True or false? It's going to respect our principle of bivalence. So we're not ruling out in our logical language generalities. We're not demanding that everything be perfectly specific. We're just demanding that every sentence has a truth value, and exactly one truth value. That it's not vague, it's not ambiguous, it's either true or false. Can't be both, can't be neither. So thank you for those comments that helped me see that we could make this clarification together. And let's forge ahead and look at the next chapter. Thank you.